Hi guys, this is Andrew with rockclass101.com. So in this week's ukulele lesson, we're going to be learning a beautiful country tune, the Tennessee Waltz. So this arrangement comes compliments of Mr. Matt Carlson. So as you've heard in the performance, he's an excellent up-and-coming ukulele player. Now if you've never heard of him before, I'll put a couple links in the description box below so you can check out his site. And he actually has a brand new CD out, so it's called Hymns from My Heart. And it's just an brilliant collection of tunes. So I highly recommend to check out his work if you're new to him. So let's talk about this lesson. This lesson is going to be split into two parts. So in the first part, which is this one, we're going to be learning the first half of the tune. In part two, we're going to be covering the second half. So if you guys want to learn the second half of this tune, you can do so at rockclass101.com. Just do a search for Tennessee Waltz, or you can click this link right here. There you'll also be able to find the complete tabs that you can print off and follow along with as a PDF format, and you can also get access to the on-screen tab viewer. Now this is a really cool feature where you can hit play, watch the tab scroll across in real time, highlight bars to loop sections, slow it down to any speed you wish. Just a really great asset in learning this song that much easier. Alright, so let's go ahead and jump into this lesson. So there's a couple tricky things with this tune. The first thing is that there's quite a lot of chords, and some of the chord shapes may be new to you. So we're going to be covering all of that in detail as we go through the lesson. And we're also going to be putting a lot of focus on what is the best fingering options for some of these chords, because they're tricky as you jump through. So we're going to be talking all about that. And then in the second part of the lesson, you notice that really cool triplet picking technique that he does. So we're going to cover that if you're new to it as well, but that'll be in the part 2 lesson. So let's go ahead and jump into the first part. Now this whole song has a swung 8th note fill, so you want to keep that in mind. And being a waltz, it's in 3/4, so we have 3 beats per measure. Quarter note gets the beat. So we're going to kick off with a little pickup bar, and then I'll kick into melody A, and I'll play just the first, I'll play the first couple bars, and then we'll break it down and learn it. So here's what it sounds like. Okay, so there's the first couple bars. So let's go ahead and look at what's happening here. Now we've got a little pickup measure, so that means we're going to be counting 1, 2, and 3, and so that's going to be the start. 1, 2, and 3, and then it kicks into bar 1. Now this pickup measure has a starting on the end of 2, so we're going to be counting 1 and 2 and 3 and. So we're coming in on the end of 2 with the open C, then following it up with the 1st fret of string 2, and then the 3rd fret of string 2. So if I was to count in, I could even count simpler. I could count 1, 2, and 3, and. So that is all we're going to be doing for the pickup, and then it takes us into bar 1. So before we jump into bar 1, let's talk about the right hand finger picking real quick. What I really like to do with this song is to use a 3-finger approach. So that means I'm going to be using my thumb for string 4 and 3, my middle finger for string 2, and my ring finger for string 1. So I'm using these 3 fingers, but you could also use these 3 if that's easier for you. So kind of experiment and see which one works better. So if you use these 3, then again it's thumb gets string 4 and 3, index finger gets string 2, and middle finger would get string 1. So throughout the piece, that's the approach that I'm using. Now you also notice when you watch Matt play that he's got a thumb pick on. So a thumb pick just helps to add a little bit more emphasis, because it's a plectrum, and what he's using will really help to highlight some of the notes. Now a thumb pick isn't something that I personally use on ukulele. It's something I use for guitar. Because I feel like it really helps to fatten the bass notes in a guitar, but for uke, we don't really have bass notes. So, if a thumb pick is something that you want to check out, I'll put a link for the brand that I use for guitar, for the Amazon links below too. So if you kind of want to try it out, it's really cool. As you can hear, it sounds great with him, but it's kind of comes down to the player's feel. Do you like it or do you not like it? Anyways, let's go ahead and jump back into this. So again, with the little pickup measure, we have starting in the end of 2, 1, 2, and 3, and then we're going into our melody A. So here's what bar 1 sounds like, and then we'll break it down. Kicks off on an F chord. So you notice this F chord is not the full F shape, right? The basic F chord. So you can make the basic F chord, but remove your middle finger. So we don't need that. But we want to target our strum to string 3 down. So when you strum from 3rd string down. Following that up, we're going to be playing the open 4th string. Take your pinky, put it on the 3rd fret of string 1, and then follow it up with the open 3rd string. So if we put that together, we have 1, 2, 3. 1 and 2 and you notice it's straight 8th notes, right? So we've got 1 and 2 and the last few notes are going to be a triplet. So we have triplet. So that's going to be the 1st fret of string 2, open 4, and then this time you're going to take the ring finger and put it on the 3rd fret of string 2. So let's try that again. So we have 1st fret of string 2, open 4, and then the 3rd fret with the ring finger of string 2. So if we put that into a triplet, we have triplet, 1, 2, 3. So if we put that timing together, we've got 1 and 2 and triplet. So again, it's 1, 2, 3. 1 and 2 and triplets. So you kind of want to get that rhythm stuck in your head. 1 and 2 and triplets. Okay, remember that swung feel, so real slow. 1, 2, 3, and 1 and 2 and triplets. So again, we've got strum for 1, 3, triplets. Last time, 1, 2, 3, and strum for 1, 3, triplets. And if I don't count it out, I've got. So going into the next bar, we have an F major 7. So we're going to keep our index finger where it is, the 1st fret of string 2. This time you're going to take that pinky, put it on the 4th fret of string 3. And again, we're going to target our strum for the 3rd string down. So we get a nice color in this chord. And we're actually going to follow it up by playing pretty much the same stuff as the last bar. So you're going to go ahead and hit the open 4, but this time take that ring finger, put it on the 3rd fret of string 1, and then we're following it up again with the open 4. So there's our first part of this bar. So again, we have F major 7, which is going to be strumming 3 down, open 4, ring finger on the 3rd fret of string 1, and then open 4. And this open 4 will buy us time to jump up for the next part. So let's put that into context. I'm going to play bar 4. I'm going to show you how I jump up, and this is what it sounds like put together. So again, we're starting with that F major 7, so it's not string 4, but the 4th fret, 1st fret, and open A. So strum, open 4, ring finger on the 3rd fret, and then open 4 again. So we have strum for 1, 4, and then we're going to move our hand all the way up. We're going to catch a higher voicing of an F chord. So we're going to move our finger all the way up to the 8th fret, so that index finger is going to lay flat on the 8th fret, strings 1 and 2, middle finger's on 9 on string 3. Again, we're targeting 3rd string down. So we're going to strum that, and then we're going to shift our middle finger up to the 10th fret on string 3 and drop your ring finger down to the 10th fret on string 1. And you're plucking both of those strings, so 3 and 1. So you want to just practice the higher F to shifting up to hitting this interval. Okay, so it's not too hard. So you notice just shift up, ring comes down, index lifts up. So if I put that bar together again, guys, I have straight 8th notes. We have 1 and 2 and 3 and. So again. All right, so that's what we get. So let's go ahead and try that one together. So we have 1, 2, 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and. So one more time. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and... All right. Now let's go ahead and recap our pickup plus the first 2 bars. So here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and triple it 1 and 2 and 3 and... Okay, so even slower. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and triple it 1 and 2 and 3 and... Awesome. So our next bar sounds like this. Okay, so this one is just going to be basically kicking off where we left off, right? So we left off on this double 10. So we're going to pick that note, those 2 notes together, and we're going to slide up a whole step to 12. So remember, that's 3rd string, 1st string. So we're sliding up to 12. In between this now, we're going to go ahead and hit the 4th string, and then put our index finger on 11 on string 2. This is going to make an F7 chord. So again, our target for the strum is 3rd string down. So let's recap that. So we've got double 10, that's where we left off. We're plucking that and sliding up a whole step to 12. Following it up by the open G, and then adding our index finger to 11 on string 2. So keep all those fingers planted. Okay, and you're just going to strum 3 down, and then you're going to follow it up by the open G. And then here's where it gets a little tricky. So we're going to lift our ring finger up, drop our index finger down to the 10th fret of string 1. We want to keep this middle finger stayed put. We're going to play string 1 and then string 4 open again. So you can see the open 4 is on every end basically. So we're hitting on end, end, end. So every end is the open G. So notice how I play that, and I'll count it out. I have 1 and 2 and 3 and... So every end is the G. Okay, so again we've got slide double 10 to 12, right? Open G, then lay the index finger on the 11th fret of string 2, strum 3 down, then open G, lift the ring finger up, index goes to 10 on string 1, play that note, and then open G. So a little tricky, but it's not too hard. That's what we get for our 3rd bar. Now our 4th bar is going to probably be one of the most trickiest ones of this tune. So here's what it sounds like. And when I watch him play it, I hear the little staccato in his playing. So we're going to highlight that too. So we'll talk about how we're going to approach our little dynamics for this section. So it's starting on this B flat. So we've got middle finger on 10th fret of string 3, the ring finger underneath, it's 10 on string 2, and our index is on 8 on string 1. So we're going to pluck this chord, and then we're going to quickly go to this B flat with a 9 added. So this one's a full bar chord. It's going to be a little bit hard. So lay your index finger flat on the 5th fret, all 4 strings. Then you're going to add your middle finger to the 6th fret of string 2. So the thing with this chord is we want to pluck the 5th fret of string 4. So just pluck string 4 by itself, and then we're going to pluck the other 3 strings underneath it. So it's happening one at a time. So we have 4 and then pluck strings 3, 2, 1. Now if this bar chords are new to you, the form is really important. So it's going to basically make it or break it for getting bar chords to be clean and for properly building finger strength. So if you're new to bar chords and forming partial bar chords, then check out this lesson because it's going to teach you proper left-hand form. It's going to help tenfold for getting used to doing these harder chords. So going back to it, we have to talk again about some of the changes or the transitions, because the transitions in this section is hard because we're literally going from all this movement, right? We've got this little funky stretch at the end of the 3rd bar, and then we're going for the 4th bar to the B flat. Okay, so here's what's happening. We're going to talk about the easy way to practice changing from 3rd bar to 4th bar, and then we'll talk about the chord changes in the 4th bar. So recapping the third bar, this is where we ended up. When I transition down to the B flat, watch both of these fingers. They're going to go down a whole step each. So they're on 12 and 10 right now. They're going to go down to 10 and 8. Then my ring gets added. And that forms our B flat. So that's the easy transition. So you just want to practice that change. From here, you're going to lay flat first and then add the middle finger. Because think about the order that you're playing. Because you're playing string 4 first, it buys you just that little bit of time to go ahead and add the middle finger after. So watch how that happens. Right? See how the middle gets added after. Okay, so that's another way you want to practice that chord change. Now our last chord change here goes to a diminished. So we're going to move up a whole step. So our diminished shape looks like this. It's 7, 8, 7, 8. So that chord is formed with your index finger on 7 on string 4, ring finger on 8 on string 3, middle finger is 7 on string 2, and pinky is 8 on string 1. A bit of finger frenzy, squashing all of them in there. So again, the same thing is true. We're going to form the first finger first and then add the others next. So watch how that plays out. So I'm going from this bar chord of the B flat into the diminished. So you see I'm transitioning up the index finger, then using the other 3 fingers going in place after the fact. So I've got 4 pluck, 4 pluck. So one at a time, right? 4 pluck, 4 pluck. So it just buys you that extra time because they're all 8th notes. Now after you pluck this diminished chord, you've got one last tricky part in this bar. You're going to take that pinky and stretch it to 10 on string 1 and play that note. So for this diminished, you have 4 pluck, stretch with the pinky to 10 on string 1, and play that note. So if I was to put this entire bar together again, and then we'll break it down slow, it sounds like this. So it's a lot of movement going on and a lot of tricky chords to grab. So again, if we take it from our B flat, we've got 10, 10, 8, so we're plucking these 3. Then we're moving down to the 5th fret, laying flat across all 4 strings, playing string 4 first, adding the middle to 6 on string 2, plucking strings 3, 2, and 1, moving up to 7 with the index finger, playing string 4, adding our other 3 fingers down to make the diminished, stretching pinky after the pluck to 10. Okay, so again, okay, so really tricky stuff, right? Pluck, 4 pluck, 4 pluck, 10. So that's just a bar that you want to loop and pay real close attention on what we talked about. Which finger is the best for forming these chords and the movement that happens. One movement at a time, then the others. And that breaking it down will make it that much easier to learn and get down. So that gives us the first 4 bars, guys. So put together those 4 bars plus the pickup. It sounds like this. So let's try that, you and I together. So real slow. So we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and triple it 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and... Awesome. All right, so let's go ahead and look at bar number 5 now. So bar 5 and 6 are similar. So actually I'll play 5 and 6 and then we'll break it down. Alright, so you notice that it's the same chord that's moving down a whole step. So pretty easy stuff. And it's actually the same chord that we formed earlier. So we're literally going back to that higher voicing of F. So that was the index on the 8th fret, string 1 and 2, and your middle finger on 9 on string 3. So again, targeting 3rd string down. So we're just going to strum that, and then we're going to be picking out of this chord. So 8th notes throughout this whole bar. So we've got strum, and then string 4, open, string 2, string 3, string 2, string 4. So if I call it out, I've got strum 4 2 3 2 4. So you just want to memorize that pattern. Strum 4 2 3 2 4. Strum 4 2 3 2 4. So after that, we're going down a step and a half. So this F chord becomes a D. So we're down to the 6 and flat on 5. So again, strumming 3rd string down. And this gives us our D chord. This time around, we're picking out of it, but we've got to add one other finger. So a little bit trickier because we've got to use the pinky finger. Here's what this bar sounds like. All right, so let's break it down. So again, we're starting with strum 3 down, 1st string. Then you're going to add the pinky to 8 on string 2, and then play string 3. So let's just try that part. So we've got strum 1, add the pinky to 8 on string 2, then play string 3. After that, you've got to lift the pinky up to play 5 on string 2. Remember, that's barred. And then the open G. And that finishes that bar. So again, we've got strum 1, 8, 6, 5, 0. So that's calling out frets. If I call out strings, I've got strum 1, 2, 3, 2, 0. Just don't forget to lift up, right? So strum 5th fret, 8th fret, 6th fret, lift up, 5th fret, open G. Now this open G is going to buy us enough time to move down to catch the lower voicing of a G chord to this G7. So it'll again buy us time, kind of like when we jumped up earlier in the tune. So let's hear how that sounds. So I'll take it from D, so it sounds like this. Okay, so let's again recap this 5th and 6th bar before we play 7 and 8. So for bar 6, we're starting on the higher voicing for F. So together we've got 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and... Now for this last couple bars, we're going to go down to this lower G, to that G7, have this cool little walk down lick before we're resolving and then starting back again. So here's what the last couple bars sound like, and these last 2 bars are ending number 1. So we're going to talk about that as soon as we learn it. So here's what the last 2 sound like, and I'll go ahead and play through. Okay, so let's break down this part. So we're going to basically take the first or the top half of a G chord. So it's the index finger on the 2nd fret of string 3 and your middle finger on the 3rd fret of string 2. So you're going to pluck those 2 strings, then hit the open G after it. That's going to buy you time to switch to the G7, which is a bit of a tricky chord to grab. So again, we're plucking, hitting the open G, and then we're gonna do a little shift with our fingers. So here's what this shift is. Your index finger is gonna drop down to the 1st string, 2nd fret, and your pinky's gonna go up to the 5th fret of string 3. The whole time your middle finger stays anchored, doesn't move at all, so watch that change. So I've got the top half of this G chord, I'm switching to the G7. And our G7 is gonna be 3 down again for our strum, so I've got 5, 3rd, and 2nd fret. So you just want to practice that change. Remember that G, open G is in between, right? So I've got pluck, 4, strum. So pluck, 4, strum. Then we've got this cool little walk down lick. Now he doesn't play a little slide into it. I think a slide into it sounds cool. So it's a nice little ba ba ba. So what I like to do is take that middle finger, put it on the 2nd fret of string 2, slide up to the 3rd fret, and then just walk down on string 2. I've got 2nd fret, 1st fret, and I'm using the index for the last 2 notes. So I've got slide 2 to 3, 2nd fret, 1st fret. So if I put that together, I have... Okay, and you can hear that that little ba-da-da is a triplet. So we've got 1 and 2. Triplet. So beat 2 is a quarter note. So it's basically, I think it's our first quarter note, right? 1 and 2. Triplet. So that's what that bar sounds like. Now our last bar, so bar 8, and remember guys, this is ending number 1, will sound like this. So it's starting off with an open E, and then we've got this C7 sus2 chord. So we're going to take our middle finger, put it on the 3rd fret of string 4, index is on the 2nd fret of string 3, ring is on the 3rd fret of string 2, pinky's underneath that, so it's the 3rd fret of string 1. We can take our thumb and strum down for this. Now we've got 2 quarter notes for the first 2 hits. We've got open E and then C sus quarter note. So 1, 2, 3, and then it does a little walk up back to starting the A melody again. So the little walk up is the 1st fret of string 2 and the 3rd fret. So again we have, so open E, grabbing the C7, strum that, 1st, 3rd. So I have 1, 2, 3, and so together we'll try that. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and awesome. Now let's try 7 and 8 together. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and 1 and 2. Triple it, 1, 2, 3, and so let's go ahead and recap 5 through 8, and then we're going to cover 1 through 8, and then we'll talk about ending number 2, and that'll wrap up this lesson video. So 5 through 8, again, started on the higher voicing of the F chord. So we're kicking off with 8 and 9th fret. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 1, and 2. Triple it, 1, 2, 3, and so that gives us basically all of melody A, guys. So before we learn ending number 2, let's go ahead and just try, you and I, the first 8 bars together, and we'll start with that pickup. So remember, starting on the end of 2. So we have 1, 2, and 3, and 1, and 2, and triple it, 1, and 2, and 3, and 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 1, and 2. Triple it, 1, 2, 3, and so when you get there, you're going to do the first 5 bars again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So when you get to bar 5, that's where you're going to go to ending number 2. So bar 6, 7, and 8 will be ending number 2. So here's what ending 2 sounds like. Alright, so let's break down this part. So our first bar is going to be playing a C chord, so we're higher voicing of a C. It's literally a G chord moved up, but we're going to finger it differently. We're going to use a partial bar chord. We're going to use our index finger to cover 7th fret, strings 1, 2, and 3, and then take your middle finger, put it on 8 on string 2. So again, we're going to target our strum with the 3rd string down. In between, we're going to hit the open G, and we're going to switch out to the C7 sus chord. So this one's a little tricky. What we're going to do is we're going to take that index, put it on 6 on string 2, and then take your ring finger, put it on 8 on string 1. We're going to strum 3 down again with an open C. So here's what's happening. We've got the higher voicing of C, open G, to the C sus, and then we've got to go to that diminished chord shape, but a little bit higher than we played last time. So we're going to 9, 10, 9, 10. So same shape we did before, where it's index, ring, middle, pinky, but we're on frets 9, 10, 9, 10. So again, the same concept is string 4 first, pluck, strings 1 through 3. So that gives you a little bit more time. So watch how that happens. So I've got strum, 4, strum, 4, strum. Right? So again, strum, 4, strum, 4, strum. And then we're finishing up that bar with an open G. And that'll buy us some time to switch to the F for the next bar. So let's try that bar again. I'll call out first, then you and I will do it together. So we've got higher voicing of C, open G, then the C7 sus, strum, then to the diminished 9th fret, strum, and then open G finishes it up. So we have eighth notes throughout. We've got 1 and 2 and 3 and... Okay, so again. Okay, so you and I will try. We'll have 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and... Now our last couple bars kicks off with this F. So we're back to that higher voicing of F, laying flat on 8 with the middle finger on 9. We've got a little slide lick happening. It's actually really cool. It sounds like this. Really neat stuff. So you're going to keep that F chord intact. You're going to strum, hit the open 4. Then you're going to take this middle finger, your pluck strings 3 and 2. But you want to keep that index finger stayed anchored. It'll move a little bit when you slide up with the middle. So middle sliding up to 9. But for the most part, you don't want to have some giant movement happening. So again, I've got strum, 4, pluck, and slide. Okay, so again, strum, 4, pluck, and slide. Then we're dropping down to the 4th fret of string 3 and the 3rd fret of string 2. So staying with that same shape. So again, I've got strum, 4, pluck, and slide, drop down to 4 and 3. And you pluck those two and follow it up with an open G. So I've got strum, 4, pluck, 4, pluck. Okay, so a lot happening, real tricky because it's probably the first time you've held a chord and done a slide at the same time, so it's a little weird feeling. So let's try together. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and... Awesome. Now our last bar sounds like this. Okay, so let's break this one down. If we left off on 4 and 3, all we have to do is move our middle finger up to the 5th fret on the 3rd string, put our ring finger underneath it on the 5th fret of string 2, and drop our index finger down to the 3rd fret of string 1. So here's what happens though, is we only have to do it at the time it's needed. So same concept we keep seeing throughout this piece. So watch how the index finger will get added for beat 2. Okay, and if I take it from this last hit, that puts it into context better. So again, I'm just shifting up to double 5, plucking 3 and 2, open G's after that, adding the index to the 3rd fret of string 1, and I can pluck 3, 2, and 1. That's going to be a quarter note, and we kind of want to give it a little bop, a little staccato. So we've got 1 and 2. 3 and you notice back up to the higher F, so strumming the higher F, and then adding the ring finger to 10 on string 1. And that finishing is up this A melody. So we've got 1 and 2, 3 and... So if I put 6, 7, and 8 together for ending 2, this is what I get. And if you and I try it together, we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2, 3 and... So very tricky with that movement that's happening. So again, that's actually what makes this arrangement so cool, is that he used a lot of movement, which helps build the momentum and helps with the dynamics of it too. And a lot of times when we're playing, we're always stuck in this beginning part. But if we can take advantage of the entire scope of the neck, we get this beautiful movement and flowing nature to an arrangement. So guys, that's everything for part 1. We basically learned the first half of the tune. The second half, we see a lot of repetition that happens, but there's some really tasteful variations that are thrown in, and there's that really cool triplet picking technique. So we're going to cover all of that in the part 2 lesson at rockclass101.com. So to find it, again, all you have to do is a search for Tennessee Waltz, or you can click this link right here. And remember, you can also get the tabs to print off and follow along with, as well as access to that on-screen tab viewer. So it's an interactive tab player. So really, really cool feature. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I will see you in part 2. Thanks.